The following is a presentation of Muddy River News.
Ooh, baby, get hyped to the beat. Let's go, cause this is our jam. This is our jam.
This is like in your face, though, I feel.
How's that?
Yeah, it's better.
Better?
Yeah.
Okay, there we go.
It was covering your beautiful face.
Aww.
You can't have that. You can't have that, yeah.
Aww. It's a very busy time around here with basketball season, and we basically turn the news department into the sports department for the most part, or well, at least half of it, because we've got guys out and about as we're doing this Thursday, because we've got all kinds of postseason basketball. So, but then I get to stick around and do new stuff. Yeah. I had volunteered to do some basketball stuff, but I don't think Matt likes me covering sports, although I can do it just fine. So, no, I'm just kidding. But so anyway, I'm going to head to the Oakley Lindsay Center, and people can read about this as this goes today, as they're having a big open house about the Quincy Bay project, which is a really big deal.
Very big deal.
$32 million to basically clean up the upper part of the bay, make it so, the boats can actually get through. They'll do the dredging. They'll make it so the habitat can come there, birds, fish, all the wildlife. So it is a great project, and this was a $32 million federal project that came about, and but a lot of people have been working on it for a long time. And I was on the park board when we did some stuff with it and kind of helped push the ball down the field. So it's an important project to me personally because I think it's something that can be really beneficial. Now, it is not connected in any way, shape, or form with the Riverfront project. They are two completely different things.
Yeah.
But the Bay project can help the Riverfront project when they do the corrections to slow the sedimentation in the bay doesn't fill up as fast, and then the marina and then the riverfront area can be more navigable. So they are not directly connected, but the Riverfront project can benefit. So
I've seen a couple of things online, and maybe it's just human nature these days to fight about things, but it seems like there are, of course, two sides to the camp. What is the negative here?
Well, there's just always the people who are like, oh my God, don't take any money from the government. I mean, there's those people.
Well, I mean, I'm kind of like that too, but I think if you're going to take money, no, I think the riverfront, notwithstanding the riverfront restoration and beautification, but that has been a necessary project for a long, long time, I think, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I was a river rat for many, many years, and it got to the point where you couldn't even, the marina was inaccessible. You couldn't go, you couldn't even get back there, right? So I guess I'm just outside of, we shouldn't take money from the government. What are the naysayers saying?
Was there something in the past? Because I do read a lot where people say, well, that's already, we've already tried that. I don't know. Like, what is that?
No, it's a different project. And basically, when they created the cut through, or they closed the cut through, that's when the problem happened. They have to close the cut through. When they created that's when the sedimentation problem came in. Okay. There's a cut through up on the north side. So what you want to do is you want to stem the river's tide there by building this chain of islands that will slow that down.
Sorry, I'm like, this is all science. Yep. You lost us at the first.
River flows south.
Yeah. Okay.
Got it? And river flows fast south. So if you dig up dirt and muck and yuck and build artificial mountain or islands, then the water doesn't go as fast. Water hit island.
Yeah.
Water slow down. Bay not fill up with muck fast anymore.
Okay.
Did I Bill Nye that enough for you?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, that was a really in layman's term, thank you. I appreciate that. Because I think a lot of
before you were doing, we were like, what?
No, but I think maybe that's why a lot of people are like, what the hell? Why?
Yeah.
Because a lot of fancy words are being thrown around. People who aren't associated with boating or riverfront or river life in general don't really understand what the importance is and why we would do it outside of trying to reattract boaters. I know you mentioned wildlife and which of
Hunters
course is
and fishermen,
right?
and
Which
all those
I am all about.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if nothing else. Hunting, fishing, that is a huge mainstay in this area. And I think if we can help bring more of that, I think that's a great idea, right? That's butts in seats, heads in beds. And also the boating life that I referred to earlier has been non-existent now. I know the river isn't maybe as safe as it once was, but maybe this will help. I don't understand.
But again, it goes back to the filling of the bay and the having to dredge it and the problems of getting in and out of the marina. It's all that. You have all the people who have decided, I'm going to go do my boating in Lake of the Ozarks, or I'm going to go do my boating in Mark Twain Lake. But, you go down to Grafton, or you go down to Louisiana, Missouri, and then you go up the Illinois River to the Botel. I mean, there's still a very active community down there.
Yeah.
And if they can just fix the sedimentation problem, make it more accessible, and that's when you can get a higher boat. You can get more of a boat population back. Now
I remember,
has that ship sailed? Ha ha, no pun intended.
Right.
I don't know.
So I remember a while ago, but not in the too far past, there was a private group of boaters that came together and were like, if nobody's going to do anything about this, we need to get together. Is that played any part in this?
The Quincy Boat Club has been involved. I know there's been some discussions about the future of the marina, which is still a little up in the air, but the boat club has been a little more active and involved. The boat club's been involved in this process. I think they've had a representative on the board that has worked with the Corps of Engineers to make this happen. And again, when they purchased the pier and turned that into the boat club, that turned out to be, that's going to be really beneficial. Now, if they can just come up with some partnership that will make it so we can put slips all the way from the dock bar south all the way to the Harrison ramp, Hampshire ramp. But if we can just do something there where we can make the boats there on a regular basis, I think that's something that would be very beneficial as well.
So can you raise your hand tonight at this meeting and say, can we make sure that everything is mowed, landscaped properly? Remember, there was such an issue with overgrowth and at all the dock locations. So it's kind of like, well, don't do one without the other, because that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, that's all. It all has to be hand in hand.
Yeah.
And and again, once the Bay project kind of comes to fruition and we see the results of it, then maybe that's when the riverfront can then sort of get a little momentum. Once you see, hey, we can actually have a bunch of boats down here now.
Yeah.
So that's
is the marina still owned by the Park District?
Yes, the Park District.
Quincy Island, like that whole
Yes.
area
The
is
Park
still.
District is the one that is putting on this survey. It's the online survey. So like tonight when he goes to this, you're going to see this tomorrow after it happened, is the public input, where you can, raise your hand and ask questions. But if you can't attend to, because it's in the past right now, you, I think, can still access that online until that survey is going till, I believe, March 9th. I'm not for sure. It started February 9th. So your input is available, and that's all through the Quincy Park District, right?
And then is this a master plan? So they're creating it, or it's already done? And they're okay.
That's what we're looking at tonight.
Okay.
We're going to look at the created plan.
Oh, so there's no more input.
But they still want input just to kind of look at and say, hey, this is what we're going to do. What do you think? Yeah, this has been in the works for a while, and the Corps of Engineers has signed off on it, and that was who we had to get to sign off on it.
Okay.
Because they control anything that happens on the river.
But this Quincy area Bay project, rehabilitation, blah, 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 it's like QA, BFR, blah, 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 blah. That is a private group that is come together?
Yeah, they're the ones, and the Park District's part of it, and they're the ones that have put the whole thing together.
Gotcha.
But it's all they're the ones who've made this, who've worked with the Corps of Engineers and worked with the Park District to make this thing a reality. So we should, start really seeing some progress on it here. Again, this open house, and I know they're also having the Upper Mississippi River Association meeting, and all this stuff's hand in hand at the Oakley Lindsay Center in the next couple of days. So it's a chance for people to just really come in and see what it is all about and what's going to happen here once they get it done. So no, I think
interesting.
It's really cool. And
it is cool.
Again, I think it is something that can really be beneficial, and to just. Again, once again, just stressing the fact that although it is not the riverfront project is not directly a part of this, the riverfront as a whole could benefit from it if the mitigation, if the sedimentation, if the bay just stops filling up.
Yeah.
And the riverfront stops filling up, and they're able to actually put boats there. That's the whole. That's how it kind of goes hand in hand. So.
Well, I'm no scientist, but I say sounds good to start. There's always, my brain always says, what's the matter here?
The revival of river rats sounds
oh my gosh, I love it.
To me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love being, I mean, that was a big part of my,
Yeah, same.
formative years, I think, just growing up. I mean, it's something cool, albeit, a little bit dangerous at times.
Absolutely.
But it's like,
As I was saying,
Yeah.
I was like, I'm sorry, Mom and Dad.
Yeah,
Like,
but
I know you didn't know that, but
but I don't want to see it just go away. I want
Yeah.
people who, that's been their hobby, their lifestyle. I want them to be able to have that. Plus, if it's going to be good for, habitats and wildlife and Quincy as a whole, yeah, why wouldn't we do this? So I'll be interested to see what arguments come out of this, because it's always like there's always two sides to every
Yes.
story.
There are a lot of folks though who are normally against this kind of thing who are actually for this kind of
Good.
thing because it's something they like.
Good.
So,
Well,
which
if
is-
there's one thing I
yeah.
can get behind, it's something that unifies our community. That is
Yes.
100% certain.
Yeah.
So hopefully this does it.
Yeah.
I feel like this has been coming for a long time. We've needed that one thing. Maybe this will be it. Hey, who knows?
Well, speaking of that, we have a guest who that's kind of her shtick too. Her
Yeah.
goal. She wants people to all kind of get together and wants the whole community to work together.
So
And we're
we
gonna
look
have a lot of
forward.
fun. And we're gonna have a lot of fun talking to her, and
Yeah.
we'll be doing that coming up next.
All right.
The Liquor Booth is your home for a huge selection of beer, wine, and spirits. The Liquor Booth has 2 locations in Quincy, 3520 Broadway and 1500 North 12th Street. The Liquor Booth, where it's always happy hour.
A&B Properties is Quincy's largest apartment rental company with hundreds of units available. They offer short-term and long-term rentals with 1 up to 4 bedroom apartments. A&B Properties meets the needs of its tenants with care, compassion, and a quality of service that exceeds expectations. A&B Properties also has a convenient tenant app for you to do your payments or make repair requests. Give them a call today. A&B Properties, 217-919-8080, Quincy.
This is our jam. Let's go.
I didn't realize that it was reservation only, so I was like, I mean, if they
It's
turn us
Valentine's
away, I
Day.
know, but I figured, maybe they had a couple tables that were like just for, wander-inners like me.
I made
But-
shrimp fettuccine Alfredo.
I saw that.
Fettuccine Alfredo. So
That was
Ellen
fancy.
liked it, so that was good, and did the flowers.
It was like a
and
pink
so-
sauce, though, wasn't it?
She had the pink sauce. I had the Alfredo sauce.
Oh, okay.
She likes the vodka sauce.
Yeah,
I
I
like
do
the Alfredo. I like just. So, but then we had leftovers. But I was like, why don't we eat leftovers today? I want to eat leftovers for lunch on Friday because it's shrimp. And then so she mixed it all together. She's like, I mixed the pink sauce with the white sauce. Is that okay? I'm like, it's fine.
Yeah.
It's not a deal breaker. I'm leftovers. I'm good. So.
Right.
So are you a-
Macy Ferguson-Smith, welcome.
Yeah.
Love having you aboard.
Okay, so we were talking about what to officially, so your title with Quincy Medical Group is behavioral therapist and
Senior Advisor of DEI and Health Equity.
ta-da, and
is.
as I like to call it, a change maker.
Something like that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because it's a long title, but in essence, what you're doing is changing the lives of people that you come in contact with on a variety of levels, right?
right.
Yeah. Don't be modest.
I know.
Yeah,
That's what
no,
I'm
yeah.
saying.
It's
a team effort. It really is.
when
bro.
someone
It
pats
is.
you on the back, just grab their hand and say thank you, right? That's
I'm
what I
learning.
think.
I'm learning.
Yeah, I get it. So as a behavioral therapist, I'm sure you've seen or been inundated, I guess, probably since, the change in, I guess, I don't know what, for lack of a better word, scenery in, I guess, community, in
Absolutely.
society, in,
Sure.
just everywhere, right?
Yes.
So what do you think, is probably, when did you start doing this? Let me start there. When did you start as
Oh, when did I start at QMG or when did I start being a therapist?
therapy? Yeah,
So that would have been like 2017.
2017.
Yeah, I started out at Chaddock. I'd been direct care there for a while, met my now wife there, and, still work there a little bit for him sometimes.
Do you?
Uh-huh.
Excellent. So 2017 to now, you've gone through an entire, it seems like a world of change.
Absolutely.
Right? Through, I don't even like to bring it up because it's so blah, but COVID, pandemic, you've seen the change in technology. Mental health has taken a huge hit across the board. What do you think from 2017 to now, if you can give me just a quick synopsis of something that has not changed, but something that you've seen just a huge spike in?
So, COVID was really interesting.
Yeah.
I can remember when it was deemed that mental health was essential, and I didn't exactly know what that meant. I was like, okay, so does that mean that we stay open, and then what? But we didn't know as much what was going on. And so from 2017 to, I would say, 2020, I always believed in mental health. Like, I believed in behavioral health and thought everybody should get behavioral health and see someone regardless of where they are in life. But when it was announced that it would be essential, I was like, oh, okay, this is going to bust the doors wide open. Like, what are we going to do now? And the wait list
Hasn't subsided
since.
Yeah.
And so that's been the biggest change of, like, everyone wants mental health, which I think is beautiful, but there aren't enough of us.
So you're saying that if anything good came from the pandemic, it was the fact that people realized they needed this help.
Absolutely.
Okay. I been looking for a silver lining to it for a while.
I know that's right.
I'm glad you found one.
I mean, I think it's so some of the question that I have around mental health is, it's kind of like anything else. Do you think that it is, because I mentioned that there's a spike, but do you think that that's the case, or do you think it's just being talked about more because it's more widely accepted to bring it to the forefront?
I do think there's more awareness. And
Okay.
TikTok was huge.
Big.
For that. I had a lot of students on TikTok, and I was against it for a really long time, but then they started coming in with, I think I have this, or can you talk to me about that? And I didn't know what they were talking about. So I had to get TikTok to understand algorithms and things.
Interesting.
And it was an incredible tool. It can be harmful in the same sense, but it was really interesting to see how people were connecting around mental health and then bringing it into their doctor's office, asking for referrals to behavioral health, asking for referrals to specific therapists because they wanted to work through some things.
Yeah.
You know, there was something about being at home or being wherever we were and having a lot of time to think.
Yeah.
There were a lot of people that wanted to talk to someone.
So when you look at social media and you say this is something good that came from TikTok, it's a pretty fine line when you deal with Twitter, X, whatever, Facebook, all the stuff. It's a fine line of too much, what's beneficial and what can be bad, because you've got, with Instagram and TikTok, you've got people who can, body shame, and you've got people who can just be downright mean on X.
It's still social media.
It's still social media.
Yes.
So where is that balance? I know that I have really tried not to be a complete jackass on social media. I just kind of, for the most part, respond or don't respond, or because when it first came out, I would say stupid stuff, and then I realized that was very harmful. So what is that fine line, and how do people navigate it?
I think everybody's got a different threshold, but what's most important is that everybody has to realize the Facebook keyboard warrior thing only can go so far. I enjoy therapy because I'm having face-to-face conversations, even if it's over telehealth. Like, I'm talking to another person. And I think sometimes we get either, like, very brave, and I went through this too when I was in grad school. I was fighting everybody in Quincy, Illinois, it seemed like at one point, on different subjects and different things. And you get burnt out. And you want to have conversations with people. You want to talk to another human. And I think that's what gets lost in social media a lot of times.
100%.
Like, we don't talk to people that way, I would hope.
Right.
The
Yeah.
way that
Yeah,
we type
right.
on Facebook. But that's just...
I heard something interesting, and it was like, when you're having a one-on-one conversation, you are expected to react right away. And I think that has translated negatively on social media because people still associate it with face-to-face conversation, even though you're not there. So your instinct is, boom, I got to respond right away, without thinking about repercussions, without thinking about the person that's standing in front of you. And I think, the physicality taken out of that impulse, or that is very dangerous. Right. So when you're talking to people, in your office or at Chaddock or even, anyone you meet, do you think that, well, I'll just ask, do you think social media as a whole is a detriment or a positive thing? And it doesn't have to be, it shouldn't be a case-by-case basis, because I think overall there is an answer to it. What do you think?
I think it can be both. I think in my experience, my lived experience in my profession, what I'm seeing with young people right now, it's a detriment.
Yeah.
I wish I were seeing more positive things, specifically with TikTok, specifically with some of the bullying that's been going on, some of the rumors that start, how quickly people start talking about one another, the accessibility. So now we're almost always accessible, and it didn't used to be that way. You used to have to call the landline to call your friends.
Right, talk to their parents.
You used to have to be outside riding your bike, and then come inside. There were all these things that we used to do that no longer happen because we're so accessible. And that, to me, has not been the greatest with our teen population. I think for adults, it's opened things up in a lot of different ways, where there's like support groups and these other things, but our brains are formed, right? Like we're
Right.
older than 25 or 27, I can't remember. But for our teenage population, for our adolescents, we're due at the end of next month, and I'm just like, I don't even want to think about phones.
Oh, you're having a baby.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Yes, that's
But,
awesome.
yeah, as far as
Scary.
incredibly,
It's scary.
to think about it, right? Like to think about how many years we're going to be talking about phones, and I'm like, I don't want you to have one,
Right.
But you'll probably need one.
Yeah.
So how are we
Yeah,
going to do that?
what-
Okay.
Therapist?
What
Right?
age?
Yeah.
What age?
Right. Well, and then that kind of toes another fine line that is, you mentioned age, and our brains are fully formed. Do you think that there should be an age threshold? And how do you balance that with censorship and giving people, you know what I mean? I think
Right.
it just has created this whole different discussion.
Absolutely.
So with your child, and you won't know until this becomes an issue probably, but if you look at other parents, and don't say you don't judge, because I know we all do, what would you say to a parent of a child of, say, like a 13-year-old? What, as a mental health professional, what would you say to someone who's giving their daughter or son a phone at the age of 13?
I would ask them if they know their kid.
Yeah.
Do you know your kid? Do you have a relationship with them? Because that's going to be the most important thing. What we know about adolescents is that they're going to do some things. The brain is not, like we said, the brain is not all the way there yet. So they might act out. They're going to do these things that stress you out. But do you have a relationship with them that when they're in trouble or something's going on and they don't have an answer, will they come to you?
Yeah.
That's going to be the most important thing.
I love that.
If we have a relationship with our kids, if we pour into them, if we really commit to being the parents that we know we can be, I don't know if there's as much to worry about. But if we leave them to their own devices, literally and figuratively,
Yeah.
I don't know if that's the best thing.
Right.
I
agree.
I'm not into like usually government mandates or government controls and stuff like that. But there is a minimum age to drink. There's a minimum age to smoke. There's a minimum age to do the legal drugs, if you will.
Shoot, you used to have to be 18 to rent a porn.
Yeah.
Now it's everywhere. You know what I mean?
But there should
Yeah.
be a minimum age where you should be able to be on social media, because
Yes.
that is just as addictive as everything else. And that's just when you see young kids having social media accounts and stuff, you can still, I get having a phone when you're younger just so you can get a hold of your mom and dad. Hey, soccer practice ended early, come pick me up.
Yeah.
I get
There
that,
it
totally
is.
get
Yeah.
that.
Yep.
But for them to have all these accounts and all this access when they're preteen, it's just,
Well, and you can't.
it's too much, and it's just as addictive as all that other junk I talked about before.
Yeah. And you can't really, so they say parental controls and things, but you can't say, so you talked about the algorithm. You don't get to pick and choose what pops up on your kid's phone if you're giving them access to TikTok or Snapchat so it is really, really dangerous. And I can't even imagine what you go through on a daily basis, speaking with kids and working on these behavioral health issues. But I do what you mentioned in a couple of your interviews previously with Muddy River News about community and speaking one-on-one and having those face-to-face conversations. I am 100% a proponent of bring back that face-to-face community feel.
Absolutely.
Which it's funny that we talked about the riverfront bringing, maybe it's going to be the one thing that brings Quincy back together, because I think everything is kind of polarized, be it, because of media, be it because of actual issues, whatever the reason, the polarization is there.
Right.
Speaking of polarization, you were selected, right?
Let's talk about your fun job now.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, let's get it.
So yeah, you were selected. I'm going to totally butcher this, so I apologize. But it's basically a group of 100 individuals worldwide, right?
Nationwide.
Nationwide. Okay.
U.S.
And what is the name of this group?
Leaders USA.
Leaders USA, and it was formed by
The Obama Foundation.
Yes, the Obama Foundation. So, what exactly is this group, and what are you doing to tackle some of these issues that we're talking about?
Yeah. So,
Big talk.
It was probably the most wild 6 months of my life, but also most incredible. I would definitely call it a highlight of my very short career thus far. And basically, they picked 100 change makers, and they got us every Friday for about 2.5 to 3 hours to talk about speaking across differences. How do you build bridges? How do you talk to someone who has completely opposite beliefs? And a lot of my reasoning for applying for the program is because I might disagree with a lot of folks that live here, but I've lived here my entire life, and Quincy is my home. So how do I stay in Quincy with Quincy as my home, despite it being so polarizing? How do we talk about our differences and still get back to this community isn't what it used to be? And I think a lot of people feel that, and they may feel differently about that, about why it's not the way that it is anymore. But how can we come back together? And the program was a lot about that. I mean, they want to save democracy. They want folks to talk to each other that have differences. And I think I talked last time about how, I mean, if we remember 2004 and even between 2004 and 2008, we had then Senator Obama down here doing things in dining halls, eating spaghetti dinners. I think he was at the Redmond Lee Center.
Made
on the
right.
North side. Yeah,
I saw him. I saw him made right once. I saw him made right once.
But yeah,
I'm sure he was long on over too. But he was. I saw him made
but
right.
I mean, he was here like kicking it, and you don't necessarily see that from politicians as much anymore. And you know, despite him being the first black president and all of those things, he still made time to come and talk to folks in West Central Illinois. And I thought that was big even back then. And so when this program opportunity came up, I figured that if there was anything that I was going to try and do, it was going to be that.
Right.
Because it was aligned with who I am as a person.
Sure. So as far as the issues you mentioned, you know, that it's different and then we want to get back. What do you think are some of the issues, some of the bigger issues facing not just Quincy, but everywhere? What do you think are some of the issues that you're hoping to change?
We are often just like not even having the same conversation. You know, we will start with an issue. You know, we start with DEI, right? And then it's, no, this is reverse racism. And then there's the other side that says, no, this is really good business practice. Like, this is good for everybody. But when we sit down to talk about it, we're often not talking about the same thing.
Right.
And so a lot of the program was built around, how can you stay in it? How can you not get burnt out? What are the compassionate practices that you can use for yourself and others that allow you to speak to people who may not have even ever met someone like you before?
Sure.
And that's hard to ask people to do. I think that's why they had people apply. It's like, we're not just going to pick random people. We're going to do this with folks that like have a little bit of experience in that already and have already shown maybe some successes, right? Even if small ones, because yeah, I considered myself a small success in Quincy, Illinois, compared to some of the other folks. But I think that there's a lot that we don't even understand about each other, and we have to get to know one another. It's really, really difficult for someone to say that you don't like an entire race or something like that if you have to work alongside someone. And so that's what I try to do in this community, is I try to work alongside with lots of different people so that they have exposure to other types of personalities, other different people. And so far, it's been okay.
Of your Leaders USA group, I'm assuming you were in the minority in terms of rural representation.
Yeah, absolutely. As a matter of fact, everybody else in the Illinois cohort is up north.
Yeah.
And I was the only one from the cornfields.
Good for you. Good for you.
So I definitely rep the cornfields pridefully,
Yay.
strong.
Yeah.
Every single meeting that we had on Friday. And we even got the small group I was a part of got T-shirts and hoodies made from the Cornfields to Crabs Collective. 'Cause there were people in Boston, too, that I was in a group with. So, yeah.
Oh, that's amazing.
We were kind of into it, yeah.
Yeah, that's so cool. So when you're in this group, and it's the meetings are done now, right? Is that
Right, yeah.
Okay.
They're well on to picking the next cohort. We are graduated into the alumni network. Yeah, we're done.
Okay. So do you think, the goals moving into that and the Obama Foundation, do you think that those goals are being met? Do you think that, I'm sure there's work to do, right?
Sure,
Because it kind of
sure.
never ends.
Right.
But what do you think outside of community leadership or conversation, what do you think you got out of that primarily?
Oh, the connection.
Yeah? Okay.
I mean, talking with other people who are also solving like really, really dense issues in their areas. Like, I don't know a whole lot outside of what my family tells me about what's going on in Cook County, but I mean, there are some change makers that are just like knee deep every day in just trying to make it a better place, regardless of who they're talking to. And that's what gives me hope, because, we can get hopeless, we can get burnt out, we can think that, it's never going to change.
Yeah.
Like, I can say that all the time, like, Quincy's never going to change, but it's changed a lot, even since COVID. So, we don't want to get burnt out in those ways, but having those other folks that are trying to tackle issues and those connections, I know that I can lean on them if I need them. They're now part of my family and my support network. I mean, that is absolutely paramount.
Yeah.
You know what the biggest problem is? What color's that cup?
that it looks red.
It's blue.
Well,
It's blue.
Yeah.
You know?
You're not going to tell me it's not blue. It's
Right,
blue.
right.
It's blue.
Yeah.
That's the problem.
Different conversations.
That is the
Absolutely.
total problem. Everybody has their own facts and their own whatever.
Yeah.
It's a red cup.
And it's like,
I'm
can we
just
agree
saying.
that it's a cup?
Yeah, right?
No.
There you go.
No, it's a bowl.
Yeah, that's
It's a
good.
bowl.
You know, like
It's
bowl.
definitely
That's how
a-
we have to do that.
Then the other
definitely
person
a
wants to
container.
fight and
Yeah.
go, it's a bowl. or
Okay, so
whatever.
I think that is a very valid point, and I do think, and I'd love your opinion on this. So, as you have change makers that are working hard every day to try to eliminate, some of those walls and cut down on the polarization, what do you think that legacy media, mainstream media, what do you think about what is happening there, and do you think that that plays a part in how we can kind of overcome that, I guess, is what I'm asking.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, media literacy has never been more important.
Yeah.
I hope it's being taught a lot more and at a lot younger levels, even for the social media stuff that we were talking about earlier. But I encourage folks to read. And you can ask a lot of different folks that work with me at QMG. I'm always encouraging a book, a podcast, it's to try and make time for those things, because if you don't know the history of something, or like if we don't know where to start, how can we have the conversation again?
Right.
We want to have the same conversation. We want to have the foundational knowledge. Oftentimes, folks just don't know.
Yeah.
And they don't know what they don't know.
Right.
And so there are resources that are out there, but we have to read from many different sources.
Yeah.
Like, we can't just read from who we like. We
Sure.
can't just watch who we like. And that sometimes becomes a problem.
It is, yeah, and I think it's almost force-fed in some areas, and I'm not saying that in one area or another, or one minority or another. I think that it's just very easy to find what you agree with and then run with it at 100 miles an hour, and then anyone who doesn't agree with you, well, we're on social media fighting them. And I do think that whatever you believe and whatever you watch, you do need to have multiple sources of truth. I also understand how hard it can be to find quote-unquote truth. So if you were to talk to a patient who is struggling, let's say I come in and I'm struggling with where to find my truth, and I know I can listen to podcasts and I know I can read books, but I'm not even sure what's true anymore. And it's kind of a bigger, it's got a huge impact on mental health, that you don't even know what's true anymore or what to believe. Right? So if I were to come in and talk to you about something like that, which I'm really freaking close to, let's be honest, what advice would you give me, or how would you kind of talk me down from that? I mean, I guess I struggle with that as a person. I know I'm not alone.
Absolutely. Turn it off. That's what
Yeah.
we would do first. Take
Yeah.
a break. Take a break. Because when you start to talk like that, you're getting close to burnout. When we're starting to question, kind of like our own reality, it's almost like we feel like we're being gaslit
Yeah.
by the media. So we have to take a step back. We have to take those steps back to take care of our own mental health. And then, why is it so important? What is it about this thing or this truth? What are we trying to seek? And how does that apply to what you do day to day? Because if this is something that we're just like down a rabbit hole, we have got to find ways to put up boundaries so that we're not spinning our wheels every night till like 2 a.m.
Yeah, that's a good point.
When it comes to this year, which is, of course, an election year,
It is.
are you of the mind that, we'll be okay, the Republic will endure, or you're like, oh my God, there's no way in hell we're surviving this year in this election?
I mean, I leave those opinions to seeing what other people do. I'm a big proponent of I sit back and observe. That's probably part of my job, but coming out in me too. That I base that on what's going on around me, if we're going to be all right. Because I know I'm going to be all right. Like, I've got a pretty strong foundation. I've got wonderful family, friends who love me and care about me. But I know that not everybody feels that from the folks in their life, and I know that not everybody has that. So they might slip into hopelessness a little easier. And so if I'm measuring it by hopelessness, we seem pretty hopeless right now on both sides. And so if we were able to decrease the hopelessness, maybe everyone starts to feel better. But it's looking a little hopeless right now.
I try to focus on what's happening here.
Yeah,
and I try
in your
not to
garden.
look at all the crap.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But, eventually it's going to affect us at some point,
Right.
just depending on what happens come November 5th or whatever. So
Yeah. I mean, I think it is important to tend to your own garden, but I do think it's important to have an awareness about what's going on around you, because I think that does kind of also create connections. You don't want to be blind to the fact that there is a bunch of bullshit happening in the world, but you also can't let that influence your everyday decisions and be scared and freak out and make these decisions, left and right. But I do think awareness is important. one thing so we were talking about this, and I know we like to keep it local, but I am very curious about your thoughts on this. So we were talking about, so President Biden, I'm not going to put words in anyone's mouth. I'm going to say my opinion. I think he is not fit for his current position just based on what I see. And who knows if that's true or not. But based on what I see, I feel like they're putting him in a position, I don't even know who they are, to be made a laughingstock. Or, and from what I see, he's having major health issues. And if I were his wife, I would say, get the hell off that stage, just as being quite frank. But if he is out even before the election and someone replaces him, that would be the speaker,
No.
The vice president, Kamala.
Yes.
Okay.
Kamala Harris.
Kamala
Vice
Harris.
President yes.
The word of what I see is the next candidate may very well be Michelle Obama.
Oh.
Do you have any say? Do you have any
Really?
So that shocked you? Okay.
People are saying?
That is a conspiracy theory.
That is.
Yes.
It's on the side of okay. So Kamala Harris will come in.
Mm-hmm.
She won't be the candidate that they put forth
Mm-hmm.
because she hasn't done a fantastic job of even
But
representing
maybe she won't.
anything.
But if something happens to the president, she becomes president. That's how it works.
Yes, but I'm talking about then as far as
But you're
candidacy.
right. Then if President Biden is incapacitated, then it would go to the Democratic Convention, and then the Democratic Convention can pick whomever they want.
Right. My
Same
question,
on the Republican side.
So my question is, how likely do you think it would be Michelle Obama? I think her name is being tossed around a lot.
I don't.
You haven't heard it?
I don't.
Damn
really
it!
haven't.
Totally let me down there because I
think
you heard it. See, I feel like
In my circles, when those things do come up, it's very much so just one of those things where like, would they put their family through that again? It was.
Because she was ready to once
was
President Obama was done, she was like, I want out of here for a while.
Really?
Yeah, she was.
Kind of rough.
But also,
she's got two. They're great.
the same thing though is on the Republican side. If we're going through leading up to the Republican National Convention and former President Trump gets found guilty of something and has to go to jail, then the Republicans can put somebody else in there. So. Who knows what's going to happen? I mean, right now, it looks like it's going to be Trump and Biden again. But we don't know.
Yeah, I posted something on my story today. I want to see how this ages because it's someone making predictions.
Okay.
And I just want to see what's going to happen. But I do think that Michelle Obama, if I've never read her books, I know she did some good things while President Obama was in office. And I know that, I'm a woman, hear me roar kind of thing. So I'm like, maybe she would be a good candidate to put out there.
A woman certainly couldn't do any worse than what we've had over the last few years.
Okay, thank you.
I'm fine
telling
with
you.
a woman being president. Let's fine.
Oh, it's not even
it doesn't
just,
matter.
Yeah, it's not even just the woman aspect.
No,
it's just that she's.
I want the best qualified person in there, period, end of story.
Yeah.
And again, I think there should be an age limit where you have to be, so once you're 72, you're done. No Senate, no Congress, no White House. We are at the point we should have an age.
Amen.
Done.
Yeah.
But everybody else should be qualified up until that point. 36 to 72. There's your window.
Yeah.
Go be president. Go be president.
Go do the things.
Only if they're mentally capable.
Well, yeah,
I
there's
feel
that
like
too.
so that's been kind of a teetering point, I think. But I just thought maybe because you got the in with the Obama Foundation. I was like, what? Give me the scoop,
You
girl.
have a cell phone number? Can you just
Texting me on the side, like, Macy, what'd you say?
Macy, what's up?
Secrets
How
are
was the podcast?
Hey,
Macy, I saw you on.
listen.
My son might send it to somebody who might send it to somebody. You never know. So.
You never know. Never know.
But thank you for coming by though.
Yeah.
It's always fun to talk to you. I always look forward to talking to you. Good luck with the baby.
Thank you.
Yes.
After
We
you
need all
get
of
that all settled down and everything, come back and see us.
Yes. Absolutely.
And it's always a lot of fun. Again, health and blessings to the child and you and your wife. I mean, that's important.
And thank you for being a change maker. I know you didn't want to, title yourself as that, but I do think that anyone creating, a foundation for conversation and human interaction is definitely making some positive changes. So keep it up. Thank you for everything you've done so far.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on.
Of course. Absolutely.
Thanks for watching.